all of you, awesome. So all of you will have access to this video. The videos are typically available within about 24 hours after we host a workshop. And they're available on our YouTube channel. And we also, we'll share that with you in the chat during the workshop. We're also going to share with you a survey link, and we would love it if you could complete that survey and let us know what you think. And if there's anything that you'd still like to see in the workshops. Now, during the presentation, we typically ask everybody to just to turn off your camera and your microphone during the video or during the presentation itself, if that's what Jon wants. Jon, what do you think? Would you like? Yep. So we'll have videos.
I'm easy.
Okay, perfect. So we'll have those, the videos and the microphones off. But if you have a question, turn it back on and let us know and introduce yourself. So I'm actually going to pass it over to Stephen and make sure that he doesn't have any announcements that he'd like to make, and then we can get started on our workshop.
I'd just like to introduce our guest speaker today, Jon Ossie of the Brink USD. Jon actually has probably around a decade in helping tech companies and consulting them. And he's right now pursuing a PhD in the School of Leadership and Education at USD. And I'll pass it on to him to introduce himself. Thank you, Jon.
Welcome, Jon, thanks.
Steve and Tanya, thanks everyone. Good evening. I appreciate it. Happy to be here. Happy to help Rec. You'll have to forgive, as I was telling Angela, I've got a less cool background as I'm hiding out in the back of the office in like a storage room, because I knew if I didn't, we might have too much noise and commotion running around as people are coming in and out and leaving. So I think if anything, the COVID world's taught us that we can conduct meetings wherever, and we go where meetings need to be. And so hence here we are in what we'll call my studio for tonight's talk to chat. Appreciate you guys joining us as we chat and try and get into what we'll call harnessing the power of social analytics. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up a screen share.
Perfect.
And I'm going to run PowerPoint because later on in this deck, I've got a few animations because I have a longer than a screen capture from a couple websites that I want to call out, and if they don't work, I have the internet up behind me with the websites loaded, so we can just pop over to them. So I'll run the PowerPoint, and let me see here. I'll pull the chat up though, by all means. Steve and Tanya, Angela, I'll defer to you guys. I'll let you monitor the chat. Maybe we can do some Q&A.
We'll definitely do that. So if anybody, sorry, I was going to say, yeah, we can definitely do some Q&A after the fact. But if anybody has any pressing questions, definitely put them in the chat, and we'll interrupt you, Jon, if it's something that looks like it needs to be addressed right away. Otherwise, we'll answer them at the end.
Perfect. I like that. Yeah, good plan. By all means, fire away questions, and we'll get to them either in short term or when we can towards the end, if we should have a few more minutes. So once again, my name's Jon. I work at the University of San Diego as a strategic advisor at the Brink Innovation Center, USD, which is part of the San Diego Small Business Development Center. So we're an SBDC in the San Diego community. I also teach a Lean Essentials course, a Lean Startup course through the Brink to local businesses and local startup founders, or those maybe who are in ideation phase and want to found a company. We usually teach it on Tuesday afternoons over lunch, so we can try and squeeze it in for folks who are maybe entrepreneurs or those who have a full-time day job. And again, we go where the meetings are and we try to make them and take them when we can. So I teach a class. I also help a handful of clients in the technology sector. And then I currently also run a 501c3 foundation, as well as an e-commerce company, Blue Dot. And as Steve mentioned, in the evenings, I'm pursuing a PhD in the School of Leadership and Education Sciences over at USD as well. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about harnessing the power of social analytics. So let's see, high level agenda. I didn't give too much detail here, but the idea is I'm going to attempt to demonstrate the power of analytics, the immense scalability, and necessity to have at least a requisite understanding of the capabilities and tools available that can help to harness this power to shape strategy, and drive business results for you. So the goal would be to use this type of data to make or to drive or to make data-driven decisions. These platforms and the industry or the space, whatever you want to call this digital marketing, social analytics space, it's providing us new ways to connect and engage with our clients and prospects, a wider reach than ever before, and the ability to glean insights much deeper than before. Today, we'll discuss what platforms are available and how they can help drive value to you and your business. What it's not, today's not going to be a deep or a technical how-to guide, a step-by-step tutorial. We won't go that deep or that dense, though I can tell you many, if not all of these bigger platforms, in fact, almost all the platforms have significant learning libraries, courses, material to help you engage with their platform. They're in their own data war amongst these different platforms online, fighting for eyeballs, for clicks, for engagement, and you ultimately your marketing dollars. So it's in their best interest to make this stuff accessible to those who have a desire and a will to learn it. From the Matrix, those willing to take or who wish to take the red pill from Morpheus and go down that rabbit hole, they make it more than accessible to do so. Okay, so let's see. In today's low-touch world, you need to be aware of this space, what I'll call social analytics, digital marketing. It's allowing us to stay connected, in touch, aware, and in the know. The low-touch economy is what some are kind of dubbing this era that we're currently attempting to thrive through or do our best to maintain through. It's driving consumers to the internet at an exponential pace. The low-touch economy, this graphic comes from a presentation I gave early COVID, like I want to say April of last year. And the concept was coined by the Board of Innovation, a super sharp group out of Europe. They've got some New York offices, but really sharp guys. And they did a nice job outlining some of the impact from COVID and how to design strategy related to it. So we all know e-commerce was already growing. It was growing at an insane pace. Again, this kind of low touch economy we're in with COVID and whatnot has been exacerbated by this low touch economy. So Charles Darwin here, it is not the, sorry, one sec, we're gonna see if he needs something. Oh, we'll be okay. Sorry for the interruption. As I mentioned, I'm in the office and we've got people buzzing in and out. You see a Charles Darwin quote, "It is not the strongest of species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the ones that is most adaptable to change." Discussing to an audience unknown such as this, meaning just a webinar in the evening creates somewhat of a minor challenge, nothing we can't overcome together, but only in that there's likely a wide level of understanding on the call today, from novices having a foundational understanding that there's a ton of social analytics to help your business available, and you can use it for customer communication, for revenue, and for branding, to maybe a handful of proficient users currently driving sales through analytics and ads already, maybe running just organic social posts and organic traffic, and maybe even a handful of experts running traffic on a few different platforms having success at scale. So I'm going to try to do my best to strike a balance and stay general enough for everyone to stay with us, to gain value from the time together, yet also go deep enough and take away some nuggets that can be explored and used to further research and build upon to influence strategy and help spur your growth. So I won't be assigning homework, but however, I'd strongly encourage you to continue exploration in this space. This sector is here to stay, and judging by the players involved in their budgets and growth, it's a rocket ship. So up on the screen, you've got some familiar faces, or some familiar logos, I should say: Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and Google. These are commonly grouped together and with good reason, and it's because their power, it's because their influence, it's because their size that they're having as a handful of the most powerful companies in the world. And they're the reason they're the most powerful is scalability, their usability, in their data. And so I'll share just a few quick notes to try and quantify. Again, this is not where I want to spend too much time, but just as an introduction, kind of this space, we'll start big and we'll try and funnel down into maybe a little bit more from shotgun to rifle approach. On the left side, I was doing a Facebook earnings report search this week on Google, just trying to get some stats around Facebook. And this was actually an article from Seeking Alpha, a big finance blog or website or internet company. And I liked the article because the bullets that they had in their summary were so on point to show what I was trying to show, of just that these companies are smashing all kinds of records and smashing forecasts and targets that they set for themselves, that I just threw the whole article up. And this one's a little dated. It's from November. Again, the idea is not to get into the investment side, or not to make this any sort of investment report or give stock investment perspectives. I'm just sharing because these results are, I mean, frankly, they're unreal. They're unparalleled. So you can see on the left, I'll highlight just a few. Facebook, 35% of the world uses Facebook monthly, and 23% of the world on a daily basis. From quarter over quarter growth from Q3 2019 to Q3 2020, so during the onslaught of COVID, they saw an increase, not total revenue, an increase in over $8 billion in revenue. They have zero long-term debt. They had a target of $25 billion in Q4 of last year. I checked and they hit it. I think they did 28 billion in that quarter. They got 2.5 billion users, or more than 2.5 billion monthly active users, and almost $1 trillion in market cap. So again, I'm just sharing some of this to show the size of some of these data and social analytic companies. I've got some other stats here I want to just call out on Amazon and some of them. Amazon's got $1.6 trillion market cap, Apple $2.1 trillion market cap. Microsoft was 1.76 trillion, Google 1.39 trillion. So just to give some perspective, the 2017 census data from the US as a whole was 19.5 trillion. China was 12 trillion, Japan 4 trillion and change. So take any two of these companies and you've got effectively the size of Japan, the third largest economy. And I think I did 8 or 9 billion was my rough math. So they're almost making up half of the US economy. So again, scalability, usability, and data. I mean, these are massive numbers, massive influence, massive data sets. Senator, we run ads. So this became, this is Mark Zuckerberg, executive of Facebook, founder of Facebook. It's a meme-worthy moment in exchange between when Zuckerberg testified to Congress or to the House. And the senator said, how do you sustain a business model where users don't pay for your services? And he said, Senator, we run ads, and then gave this kind of smirk that I attempted to capture off the video, because I think that smirk, I shouldn't speak for him or assume, but I think that smirk is because the amount of ads he's showing and the amount of revenue they're generating in the hundreds of billions of dollars a year is a massive amount. So today in today's low touch world, this is even more true. People are turning to the internet more to learn, to buy, to sell, to share, to comment, to connect. And again, in today's low touch world, it's happening at a blistering pace. So net, if you take only one thing away from our time together, social analytics is not a fad and can and will to drive a significant portion of our economy. When I say social analytics, let's see. Oh, we'll actually run. Well, I'm going to skip that. You can Google it if you want to see the meme-worthy quick little interaction from the Zuck and the senator. So let's see, what's fueling the social explosion and the billion-dollar opportunities. So real quick, I'm going to define social analytics, or when I say social analytics, what I mean is social media has opened several new marketing channels to assist in business visibility, as well as provide real-time customer feedback. So with the emergence of new internet technologies, businesses are increasingly recognizing the value of social media and web presence in the promotion of their products and services. It's becoming a new revenue stream. It's becoming a new channel to engage with customers and also to drive sales. So harnessing the power of these social analytics can empower businesses to derive intelligence to make data-driven decisions. These emerging technological tools allow businesses to quantify, understand, and respond to customers and engage in new ways in real time and gather additional data to help drive sales, increase engagement, and build brand. I don't think we've talked about that yet, but that's a big one too. So what's fueling the social explosion? You'll see on the screen here, we've got millions of prospective customers online. And we've technically probably got billions, but we'll say for each of our individual companies, millions of prospective customers, the ability to optimize using real-time analytics, the ubiquity of mobile devices. So, you know, everyone's got a phone, or darn near everyone's got a phone, tablets, computers, laptops, ability to process billions of transactions. So Stripe, for instance, we use Stripe as our payment processor. And the ability to just process that many transactions. And then you combine that with detailed customer targeting and personalized customer journeys. And what you've got is these billion-dollar opportunities we're seeing. So, okay. What you see on the screen is a splash of software tools that our company currently uses, or we use the majority of them. We're going to attempt to get into this a little bit more and talk about some of the different analytic platforms and some of the different, or I should say, social analytics and platforms and data analytic tools. So let's see. For instance, you'll see Tableau up on the screen, data analytics platform. You'll see Google Analytics, Google Data Studio. These are both analytic platforms for free from Google that you can use. What else? Salesforce is a CRM platform to manage your customer relationship management data. You'll see Shopify and WooCommerce. We use WooCommerce currently, but Shopify is kind of the crowd favorite for e-commerce. And hopefully a lot of these are familiar to you. And if they're not, you know, these are essentially some of the best-in-class brands for the different software applications that are available today to help run businesses. You'll see Sticky, and where did Sticky go? Sticky.io. We use Sticky. I absolutely love it. I think it's technically an e-commerce subscription platform. So we use it for actionable analytics. So it gives a unified view of the customer data, dashboard with key metrics. It gives us precise, granular, and actionable data so we can iterate quickly. Easily exports for further analysis and reporting. We use it for product management, order management, checkout, upsell functionality, fraud prevention, performance marketing. It's a great tool. It's got a ton of stuff baked in it, and a lot of it's out of the box functionality. So we use it for some subscription growth rate for a monthly recurring revenue, lifetime customer value calculations, churn rates, all kinds of metrics and segmentations and tools for analysis, which drive deeper understanding to grow your business. Let's see, I've got a few screenshots that we can quickly walk through, but before I get there real quick, let me just touch on, let's see, Stripe payment processor. Hotjar is a pretty cool one. We're not currently using Hotjar, but pretty interesting analytics. So it uses website heat maps, where people's mouse is hovering and where they're focusing on your website or your page. And they also, and then they overlay it with behavior analytics tools. So they provide heat maps, session recordings while people are using your site, and surveys. Google TensorFlow, that's pretty next level machine learning stuff. They have an open source library, but they do machine learning. And then there's a couple in here. You see some applications to build websites, Squarespace, WordPress. These have some out of the box functionality, analytics. What else? AppSheet and Airtable. These are part of like a no code or low code movement where they're allowing, I'm myself not a developer, and some of these apps allow, you know, these internet companies or companies utilizing the internet, such as myself, that do not develop to still create some applications to help our business. And so Airtable lets you build some spreadsheets and databases. Again, as a non-coder, non-developer, they've kind of simplified it so that you can actually go in and make spreadsheets and tables, which is pretty cool. So what can all these applications do? They can help you understand your audience. They can get super granular, analyzing past posts and engagements. So we're talking about the social platforms now. which can help you optimize. It can tell you the best time to share. And so that's an interesting one as you look at some of your social media traffic and posts, both organic and paid. So ads and the free organic posts, they can tell you the best time to share, what time fosters the most engagement or drives engagement, ultimately what drives traffic and sales. Scythe by Traject, and I'm almost done here and we'll keep moving, but Scythe by Traject is pretty cool. And I think I actually have a screenshot here coming up in a few. So this is all social data that can help you create better content. It can help you understand your competitors too. And so there's a few at the bottom here, SimilarWeb, SEMrush. There's some interesting ones where they can actually help with competitor metrics. And so that's interesting if you're trying to understand, if your competitor's having success, why not try and emulate what they're having success with? They help you understand what programs and apps your competition's using and what they're running on. So that was a mouthful. Again, just trying to begin to slowly come a little bit deeper and deeper into a few of these platforms and a few of these, what do we call them, web applications. And so what you see here this is actually a snapshot I just pulled out of my own Sticky.io. This is an out-of-the-box functionality. It's called an order analysis dashboard. It lets me see my average order value, my fraud rate, my chargeback percentage, my revenue, my orders, my transactions. So again, this is out-of-the-box functionality. Social metrics can help you create a better strategy. I'm going to go ahead and keep scrolling just to keep moving forward. Scythe by Traject. So this is a business dashboard. I actually don't use this one, but I hear really good things. Apparently it gives you a good way to monitor your KPIs. So your metrics that you can set up that you want to monitor around this stuff. They've got pre-built templates. I think this is a pre-built template you're looking at, but they give you analytics, sales, social, online reviews, and they integrate with Google Analytics, which is really cool. And super easy for kind of the more novice. Again, I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder. They integrate with Facebook pages and Facebook ads. So your organic social traffic, as well as your paid non-organic traffic from Facebook, your Twitter, your MailChimp for email campaigns, and Instagram. As you've heard me say a couple times, and I'm going to continue to kind of beat a dead horse and iterate this again, social metrics can help you create a better strategy. So what you see here is, I believe this one's from Facebook actually. Facebook, you can go in and search by, in this case, posts. So I want to look at my posts, my free organic traffic I've not paid for. I've just gone onto the Facebook platform and posted. And then I can look and see when my fans or followers are online by day. So you can see which ones are online by day. And this example, they were all about the same. And then you can see down on the bottom, and it's a little tough to see in this graphic. I don't love it. Sorry about that, but you get an understanding of where I'm going with it. You can see that, what's it look like mid-afternoon, later in the day, evening, maybe getting out of work, quitting time is when you see the highest surge of people on the platform, of your followers or your, what do they call it, your fans online. What's up, buddy?
We lost you there for a second.
Hold on one sec.
You're funny.
Yeah, I'm not looking at it.
We have a black screen
Okay.
now, John. That was funny. Okay.
Okay,
It's all
let's see. Are we back? Are we back?
We are back. We are back.
Thank you. I told you we'd try to limit the commotion. We had a coworker come in looking for his sunglasses and slam my computer shut as an accident. So thanks again for bearing with me. But maybe that's telling me it's time to move on. So we'll keep going. But essentially, this was a free tool in Facebook. You can see a bunch of data and you can see when's a good time to post. Okay, let's see. Facebook ads library. So I'm not going to spend a bunch of time here because I want to begin to shift more again towards the analytics, but I just want to make you guys aware because I think this one is a awesome tool. You can Google search it, Facebook ads library. I forget the exact link, but it's a Facebook product. And what Facebook does is, as part of their ad platform, they actually let you search their entire ad platform. Anyone that shows ads on Facebook, specifically your competition, you can pull up their ads and you can see when they run them. You can see their copy, you can see their images, their video, you can see when they ran it, how much money they're spending. it's a really interesting tool, and it's really awesome. Again, if you're wanting to deconstruct some of your competition as part of analytics or as part of your analysis, and you want to build some data, understand what they're doing, it's a great tool. Excuse me. So let's see. I took a screenshot. Let's see here. So I would just go down here. I click the search all button. For whatever reason, it always defaults on issues, elections, or politics. My guess would be because Facebook had some, they were under fire, if you recall, during the elections and all that stuff with Cambridge Analytica. And so I think maybe this was built as in the beginning to see who's running what political campaign, but neither here nor there, political ads. I go over here to search all, and then down here, I'd search by advertiser's name. In this case, I chose Omaze. Omaze is a big competitor of mine, or I should say a company we aspire to be like, because they're a massive, massive success story. So they're maybe not my direct competition as they're driving significant revenue. But nonetheless, I type Omaze and it brings up, and this thing scrolls for pages and pages because they run a lot of traffic. But you basically can see here, this is just the top, 3 different ads that Omaze is currently running. And so you basically can see the ads as a whole. You see the copy or the text. You see they do a video in one, they're doing an image in the other, they're doing an image with text overlay in another. So you can see just kind of, again, kind of how they're running traffic and different ways that they're doing it. So it's a great tool to give you some more details around your competition. I'm going to give you some more info. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit denser here around Facebook and the analytics specific to the Facebook platform. So it's a somewhat dense topic to discuss. And so I was trying to think the best way to do this. And so we're going to give this a try, and I'm going to try to just explain it. Again, I don't want to go too deep because it can get very dense, and we'll go from here. I've got a few additional slides, but the success of my business is driven by our ability to acquire new members at a profitable cost. Facebook is our current preferred platform to target our desired customers and responsible for roughly probably 90% of our traffic. So how does Facebook advertising work? Facebook has a bunch of smart people who want us to spend money on their ads. So they also have thousands of data points on each person, thousands of data points, and people similar to that type of person. They have a built-in algorithm which uses all these data points to figure out how to show our advertisements to in order to get a conversion or a purchase. A conversion, we call a conversion, means you convert a prospect or a website visitor to a customer, a conversion. So our job is to point Facebook's algorithm in the right general direction and give it enticing ads people will click on. Give the algorithm the right inputs and it will drive lots of conversions. In this case, we choose conversion as our optimization goal for our ads. So the way we've set up our ad strategy is we want to optimize for conversions. We ultimately want people to come to our page and make a purchase. So we want the Facebook algorithm to show ads to those users who have the highest chance of purchase. You can also raise awareness and optimize in Facebook. You can choose the objective for likes, for visits, for website clicks, and they'll see and kind of serve, they all serve different purposes and depend on your strategy and goals of the ads. So in this case, a Facebook user would view, and I again have Omaze's ad, but would view our ad and then click on that ad. And when they click on that ad, Facebook sends, and they then would click on the ad, which would drive them to our website, is how we have it set up. We want them to link to our website. So they would then come to our website, and when they click on that ad, they're sent to our website and a pixel is dropped. And so a Facebook pixel is dropped. And then if someone then makes a purchase, the pixel then shoots data back to Facebook to let them know that that person indeed made a purchase. So Facebook can find similar people, again, optimizing for conversion. So we're going to stay in Facebook here for a couple slides. Again, it's somewhat dense of a topic, so I'm trying to explain it in simplest enough terms. And I'd encourage you, again, they have a wealth of Facebook for Business, and I actually have some slides coming up, but a wealth of information on their website. I know when I initially kicked off to start showing ads on Facebook, I had a Facebook marketing expert reach out to me and ask if I want to schedule one-on-one time, which they'll do the same for you, which I did. I took them up on that, and they will hop on a Zoom call with you, and they'll walk you through how to set up what you see on this page, which is the structure of how Facebook ads works. You see campaign structures, best practices. And so Facebook structures their ads in a specific way to help them organize. And so this is just a generic graphic off the internet. I'm not going to get buried in the details, but they structure their ads around campaigns is their kind of high level, their top level grouping for a specific marketing offer and bidding strategy. And then within a campaign, they have ad sets. And in ad sets is or what they call advert sets on this, but ad sets are, this is where you could select targeting, who you want to advertise to, the conversion value. So what we want the algorithm to optimize for, again, as I said, conversion, the launch time. So what time you want to show the ads. We mess around with this. We normally start our ads early in the morning, 3 a.m. so that they begin at 6 a.m. on the East Coast. So we get some ads showing people as they wake up before they go to work. So we see a slight bump in the early hours. So we show ours early, but you can always mess with that. There's no right answer. And then a few other variables as well. And that's an attempt to point the Facebook algorithm or point Facebook in the right direction. And then you'll see a third level, what they have advert here, we'll just call ads, and that's what people see. So that Omaze example a couple slides ago, that's the ad. That's what they're actually going to see, what users are going to engage with. And so that's going to be a combination of images, videos. You would have a link to your site and a call to action, some sort of call to action. Ours would be normally learn more, because we want to send them to our site where we can give them a much deeper dive and more information than just that ad would have. So targeting and ad content. So targeting an ad set and the actual ads are really what it's where the great separate from the good. And so media buyers that are really good at their job, highly lucrative career, they're able to make content and copy and ads and smart targeting and interest to really set them apart, which drives ultimately a lower conversion value or a cost per acquisition, which I'll get into some of the metrics, but which allows you to basically get more customers for less marketing dollars, spend your marketing budget more efficiently. So let's see what else. In the targeting options, you've got interests. You can choose maybe people who have liked certain things or groups or pages on Facebook. There's lookalike audiences. Facebook's super smart. So after you've got 500 conversions, Facebook is able to analyze the similarities between purchasers and make up its own audiences and their lookalikes. So you have a lookalike audience. And then there's broad. You can also choose broad. And so broad goes to everyone. And so it's the cheapest to show because it's not targeted. But it's also the cheapest because it just shows to everyone. So you can also here, you can choose exclusions. You can choose by age demographics. So you can choose certain age demographics, age groupings that you want to show to or exclude that you don't want to show to, as well as demographics, geographies, and a couple others. So as I mentioned, the ads, we'll also call the creatives or the ad content or the content. And then a couple last things involved in an ad. You'd have a thumbnail. So if you're showing a video, you'll have a thumbnail, which is the cover image on that video, which is the first thing everyone sees. And so that's a super important one. You want to choose something that grabs their attention. It's what makes people stop scrolling. And it could have text. This would be the hook in traditional marketing. You might have a video, which might have the pitch, and then you'll have some copy or some text, which elicits emotion, curiosity, excitement, ego, trust. And then ultimately you want that emotion to drive action. And then in that text, you might have a primary text and some headline. Some quick metrics. I kind of jumped the gun and maybe used a few of those, but CPA is cost per acquisition. So how much it costs in advertising to get a purchase. CPC is cost per click. And so these are ad metrics or metrics at Facebook and other platforms pretty universally. These are kind of the basic ones that they'll use to help put a value on their metrics or their analytics. So CPC is cost per click. How much are you paying in advertising dollars to get a click on that link that you put in your ad? CPM, cost per milli, is cost per 1,000 ads. CTR, click-through rate, percentage of people who see our ad and click the website. And then thumb stop rate is maybe people, if they stop for 3 seconds, we call that a thumb stop rate. You want that because that means they've stopped scrolling. Pixel, like I kind of quickly explained, but it's a piece of code on the back end. You can Google how to implement it. You basically drop a piece of code from Facebook onto your website. I use WordPress. I just put it in a header. It's not hard to do. And then that starts sharing the data back and forth. Lookalike audience, I mentioned, Facebook's super smart. And after you have a couple sales, they'll actually help you create audiences to help you drive them. So now I'm going to get into, this is kind of the back end, and I just took a quick screenshot, but the idea here is this is Business Manager. So this is the screen that I would go to. And again, there's tons of customization. I just pasted just one of the pages in from our back end on the Business Manager, but the idea is this is a snapshot of my dashboard for Facebook ads. And so I took a snapshot of a product we were launching or we're running Q3, Q4 from August to November. You'll see the account names over here on the left, Blue.4, Blue.3, Blue.2, Blue.5. Those were the accounts we had spun up with different ad agencies and people in them using it. And then you can see reach and impressions. So we were running quite a bit of traffic. We had 1.6 million in reach just during this time frame for this specific product, with generating 3 million and change impressions. Spent 73 grand. It generated 81,000 clicks at a CPA, or cost per purchase, of 52 bucks. That CPC was costing us 90 cents, and it generated 1,394 purchases. So I just share this as a screen to show you an example that there's a ton of the data on the back end. These are some of the ones that we optimize for, and we watch our CPC and our CPA. We want to make sure that we're generating the customers at a marketing cost that we can afford. Reach is the number of unique users who had any content from your Facebook page enter their screen. It's the count of Facebook users who came into contact with your brand on Facebook. And then impressions, similar but different, is the number of times your content is displayed, no matter if it was clicked or not. And then clicks obviously deals with clicks through. And I think I covered the rest of them. So let's see if this works. I'm going to try this. So I pasted an animation of a screen capture, serendipitous timing, rather than trying to recreate the wheel and show you some of Facebook's tools around their analytics and how to begin learning about them. They sent me an email this morning. Remember I was saying Facebook for Business reaches out to me and offers one-on-ones. They sent me an email this morning, and the title was Facebook Ads for Conversions, which is kind of what I've been speaking on. So this is just their website. Let's see, I could, if you remind me, I'll put it in the chat when I finish presenting here in a second. Maybe that's the easiest way. And again, rather than recreating the wheel, I thought I highly recommend just go to their website. It's free. You see a ton of good data. You see a ton of material. They have classes, they have tutorials, they have workshops, they have YouTube. I mean, they have a ton of stuff. And so I encourage you to go rather than me trying to explain it to you. They do a darn good job. They've got enormous teams here to help you understand their analytics. Let's see, this one I do want to try and dig into. So let's see, I don't love this scroll. So bear with me one sec. I pulled this up. I have it showing. You guys should be able to see this. So this is my Google Analytics page. This is all out of the box. So I'm at my home screen. I've done zero customization. This is just what comes with Google. So similar to Facebook, when you pop that pixel, it's a little piece of code that you inject on your website. All this data then communicates with Google, in this case, Facebook previously, and you get an unbelievable amount of data. So you can see right now I've got 10 users on my website. I don't know what time frame this is for, but it shows you your revenue generated, the amount of users who've come to your site, conversion rate, which is the percentage of people who came to my site and ultimately purchased, and the number of sessions. So maybe people came back. Again, I don't know. Oh, this is the last 7 days. So here's the last 7-day data. And just on a quick, I can spin this up any way I want. Again, super fast, and it's all out of the box functionality. It shows me where my users are coming from. So you can see from what source and what medium, you can see from what referrals, you can see how active users are trending over time. You can see how well I'm retaining users by time of day. So you can see these dark spots here. Early in the morning, we actually get a good push. And this is interesting, Thursday, for whatever reason, maybe because it's almost the freaking weekend. Thursday, we get a higher push of people coming to our site. You can see it by country, by device. So I'll quit droning on here, but Google Analytics has been a crucial piece of free analytics for us. We make a ton of decisions based off it, excuse me, and it's a super intuitive, super easy to use tool. And then I won't go into it, but you can, over here, you can get into customization, and I can go into my audiences, and I can see demographics, I can see age, I can see gender. So the point is, Google Analytics, I highly recommend going to their website as well, because they've got a ton of good material. So let's see, I'm going to come back in here. Bear with me. Let me get back to where I was. I only have a few slides left. I just want to touch on them briefly. Google Ads. So I'm not going to dig into the level I did with Facebook, but Google Ads has very similar functionality, though also very different. You can get very granular data with Google. You can spend a lot of money, significant amount of money on Google, but you get a ton of data that's really, really useful. And this is just a screen of our Google Ads campaigns or our ad center. I forget what they call it, but again, different UI than Facebook, but it's got a lot of the same stuff. There's campaigns, they have ad groups, and then your ads. You can check on keywords and your search traffic, and you can see how many clicks were generated, what the CPC, the cost per that click was, how much was spent for the week or the month. I forget if this might be the month. So Google Ads has a ton of free analytic tools on the back end, again, because they want you ultimately to spend money with them. Again, they're in their own data war. I think I only have 1 or 2 slides left, and I want to share this, not so much that it's social analytics, but it integrates with social analytics. What you're looking at, Maripost is our email campaign system we use. Klaviyo is the other big one, and Klaviyo is probably the industry standard. A little bit more robust functionality, but they're a little more expensive. So we use Maripost.
Oh, I was going to say, can you spell that Klaviyo?
Yeah, I'll check
at the end. We'll do it
I
at the end. Yeah.
I believe it's Klaviyo,
Okay.
Klaviyo,
I'll look it up.
but I misspell it every time I type it. So let me double check that when we finish. But
sounds good.
I use Maripost because they give us a smoking deal, and they still have a ton of awesome functionality. So some of the stuff we use for Maripost email campaigns or email marketing and campaigns are send time optimization. So it will actually go in and look what is the optimal time to send that email to your customers or your email list based on when they open the most. But then you can also choose conversion time optimization. And so maybe I want them to buy something, not just read about an update or a product launch. I want them to buy something, a special, a limited time offer. I'll choose conversion time optimization. It'll give me all this data on the back end. It's a pretty slick program. It'll give me my open rates. And I think that's kind of what you can see here. This is a graphic from Maripost, the actual company, not my back end dashboard. But you can see response rate, the ideal response rate time, the lifetime value of customers, the number of orders from that customer. Customer engagement journey down in the middle here is how many emails sent, how many of them were opened, how many of them were clicked, how many of them bounced, how many bad email addresses do you have or didn't go through, how many orders it generated, how many products were purchased, what the revenue was. It delivers highly relevant messages to your customers. You can segment, like segmentation of different audiences. Automate prospect and customer communication using customer lifetime value and life cycle stage, so where they're at in your communication to them. You can dynamically transfer data to and from Facebook and Instagram, so that's how I was talking about social analytics. You can create messaging, you can deliver a consistent experience across the different platforms, which ultimately lets you build stronger relationships. So you can create highly targeted emails. I can go in and choose people that opened a specific email only, or people who opened it more than once, or people who opened on a Tuesday, whatever the case. Super granular, super awesome. They use predictive analytics, which is rooted in data science. to help you save time. And this is all out of the box functionality. Again, I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer, but they've got a ton of help. Also, they also have an awesome chat feature and support feature. So I've popped them open for chat and support, and they're super helpful to dig right in and try and figure it out. Let's see. I also, Tanya, I want to be sensitive to time too. I've got maybe 2 more slides.
Go for it.
Going, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
go for it. Yeah.
Cool. So this one, I have a love-hate with this one, frankly. ClickFunnels, what you're looking at, clickfunnels.com. I don't particularly love it, but you need to be aware of it.
Right.
Because frankly, your competition is, and they're most likely using it, and it does drive revenue. Russell Brunson is the founder. You can see him down in this video, down in the bottom left. Brilliant marketer, brilliant closer, brilliant sales guy. He actually kind of his bit or his hook is he'll give you some of his books or access to his books. And I do actually recommend the books. I do recommend reading them. They're very smart. I forget the names of them, but Russell Brunson, they've done a great job building a site to help businesses create sales funnels for their products. And so you can see this on their homepage. What's the math here? They've done $10.4 billion processed through their websites. They got 112,000 users. I mean, they're definitely having success. They're one of the fastest growing web companies or internet companies or software companies you call it, around, period. And so you can see how their tagline, enabling people to grow their companies through sales funnels. And so again, I want to make you aware of it. This isn't so much analytics as what would be coupled with the analytics to help you drive revenue. When you begin to look at this stuff and how you're going to position your messaging and how you're going to use analytics, I'd assume most likely to drive engagement, to drive traffic, and to drive revenue. ClickFunnels does a good job of explaining how to look at things through a lens of relevant to the sale and moving them through a process. And so again, love it or hate it. It's a gift and a curse, but I highly recommend at least checking it out and being aware of it. They do a trial too. So we'll spin up some trial website pages sometimes and just see if that website does better than our current, just to give us some data, kind of like a split test. Last one for me, Octopus. So full disclosure, I know very little about this company. I came across it last week in LA in a lift. I got into the lift, and on the back of the headrest is a screen showing ads, basically, and playing games, showing games and ads. And so I connected with their biz dev and ended up connecting with their founder because he wanted to ask some questions about my business. They're an East Coast company, Maryland, but really interesting new way to get messaging and engage with customers or prospects that I think's interestingly enough. So again, I think it's worth mentioning. So we're looking at their platform. They use TensorFlow, the machine learning I was talking about, where they actually don't show an ad or count it as part of your ad budget until the Google TensorFlow machine learning recognizes a face is in front of the screen. So in the lift, someone is actually there and looking at the screen, which is kind of crazy and creepy, but nonetheless. And then it's connected to Lyft as well. And so the ads correlate like a unique customer journey. The ads correlate to each unique passenger, the duration of the trip, and the location of where they actually are, where they're getting picked up. So it uses the same metrics as other platforms, the CPC, the CPA, the click-through rate, or what I talked about earlier as their kind of standard metrics. But in the call last week I had with them, they were touting way higher, we'll say higher than industry benchmarks than the other platforms. And I think it's because they have a captive audience. You know, the other platforms that I described, Google and Facebook and Snapchat and TikTok and Pinterest, and you know, they're fighting for eyeballs, where this one's kind of this newer thing and it has a captive audience. You know, when you're sitting in a car, depending upon where you are and what you're doing and what's going on, you might look at your screen anyways. This way now you're offering a game in front. So it has pretty high engagement rates, which is interesting. So the data and analytics available from it, I think are interesting. Again, why I mention it. So again, early days, I don't know much about them. Rideshare certainly took a hit, meaning it'll be interesting to see how rideshare rebounds as we potentially enter the, optimistically here, as we potentially enter the roaring 20s. and just to see what kind of social analytics come from this and what becomes mainstream. And my guess is yes. And so with that, we'll conclude here. That's all I have for the moment. I'll end with an ever relevant and pertinent recommendation or advice from Doc. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And I'd encourage you to seize the day, to get started, to get after it. The only thing constant in life is change, and to embrace the chaos, because I think things are only going to speed up and they're only going to get faster. And so I'd encourage you, or I would think it would behoove you, to get going sooner rather than later. And there's tons of tools and tips and tricks and great places. Tanya and her team have done a great job of spinning up an organization in this world or this ecosystem to help you ultimately drive business, start businesses, drive revenue, and have fun.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That was so great. Such a just jam-packed, wonderful workshop. I mean, so much information in there that I'm going to come back to. I'm really glad we're recording this. So that
I was going to say, I'm also really glad we're recording this because that was so much good information.
Good.
Totally. Yeah. I shared some of the links in the chat. You know, the rest, we'll go back and grab them and share them with everybody. But yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. So questions. I know we don't have a whole lot of time together. So
let me see. Did Clavio get in there? I'm just catching up on the.
I put Clavio in there. Yeah.
Okay, good. And I see Play Octopus.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know if there's one I didn't or I missed. I can find it. And let me know what questions you have. By all means, please.
So I saw some questions earlier. I don't know if they got answered in the. Somebody sent me a direct question that they said, you know, they're capturing all these metrics because I told them to, but they're still not sure exactly specifically how to use the info that we're tracking. I don't know if now it's that question got answered or if you still want any further elaboration.
I assume they're talking to you if it was an assignment, and I said I wasn't going to assign any homework. But again, and I was trying to share just some personal examples from our e-commerce company and even our charity. We attempt to track analytics so that we can spend our marketing budget more efficiently. We can acquire customers cheaper, and that we can understand the value of different customers and from different platforms. So for instance, we were running some traffic on Snapchat and having success at a lower CPA. So we were acquiring customers at a cheaper cost, but they were generating less revenue. And I have a million other examples like that, but I think ultimately having that data from the different platforms let us realize, oh, holy cow, we thought we were getting all this awesome traffic for cheaper,
right?
But it wasn't generating the revenue, and so it actually didn't pencil out. So we're currently not running traffic on there because we haven't cracked it, so to speak.
Right. So absolutely, it's and I think that's it. I mean, that's nail on the head. Is you're doing this so that you're making decisions based on facts, on data, on evidence, and not on your gut, and not on your feelings, and not on what you think. And I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what the whole process of what we're doing here in Studying Entrepreneurship is. So yeah, I love it. So yeah, other questions? Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Hey, Benjamin.
Hi, thank you. I'm Benjamin. Thank you for the presentation. Using ads to get people to do our surveys, to do, for customer engagement, to see which direction the business should go. Do you think that's a worthwhile thing to do?
Tanya or me or both?
Yeah, I was.
No, John.
So the question is, do we think that it's worth the time and energy to?
Well, no, to use ads just so that we can do customer research.
Oh, gotcha. I used a Google form before. Once I had a small email list, and so I guess we'd have to kind of work backwards to figure out how to gather that small email list. But I did not use it to generate. Let's see. Let me answer this slightly differently. Well, I used Google Forms because it's free and I didn't pay anyone. I then also split test asking Google Forms or completion of a survey using Google Forms and offering one lucky winner an Amazon gift card. And we did get a little bit higher response. So I didn't incentivize everyone. I just said, hey, help us. And one lucky winner will get. And I got a little bit higher response. in my Lean Essentials class, shameless plug with my colleague Benton Moore, him and I go back and forth, and he is staunch against it, and I'm slightly less, but still against it, using monetary incentives to get responses, because in our data, we feel that people are only now doing it to get the prize, and they're
Right.
not giving us super insightful, deep data.
I agree. So I agree, right? 100% there. I also don't think that you should be advertising to get specifically just to get your customer discovery done. Now, that's not the same thing as that A/B split testing and testing different channels. So I think that's a little bit maybe more complicated, but yeah, I think that if I'm understanding exactly what you're asking, maybe there are better ways, free ways.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, John.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
a question. John, thank you so much for this amazing presentation. I mean, the amount of information is really overwhelming, and it's both you know, impressive, just the amount of data that's available, but you know, for those of us who are just getting started and don't have a lot of resources, it's really overwhelming. One thing that occurred to me is that being able to have a skill to use these sort of tools would be a very high demand kind of thing, probably quite valuable in the marketplace. And it's something that perhaps we could offer our interns as an opportunity to start developing those skills. And so
violent agreement.
let me get to my question here. For those of us that have very limited time and resources, what 2 or 3 analytics tools would you recommend?
So I think my short answer is it depends. And what I mean is it depends. What are you trying to accomplish? So with my clients, I constantly reiterate and ask this to them, but what are you trying to accomplish? And what I mean is, you know, what's the goal? What's the goal of what are you trying to do? And again, I'm not trying to dodge the question or stay too general, but what I mean is I would then back into what's the most important analytics and what are the metrics. Sometimes we talk about the North Star metric, and that's kind of like, what is that one super, super important metric for your project or for your company? And then back into my answer of, okay, then what are the associated analytics or KPIs, key performance indicators, to make that happen? And so that would then drive my answer. Again, so I'm kind of thinking as I'm going down an imaginary kind of decision tree of, then I would get to, is it email analytics? Is it social engagement? Is it likes? Is it clicks? And I think it depends, you know, we'd have to go a level deeper into what are we trying to accomplish? And is it a short-term or a long-term goal? So, you know, if we're trying to launch a successful company that sells, I don't know, scissors, I'm just saying, it's sitting here on the desk. Okay, well, what's the short-term and the long-term time frame? Do we only have a month's runway of revenue that we have to start selling these scissors in the next month? In which case, I'm probably going to figure out how to start showing ads, and the analytics I'd want to look at are cost per acquisition. Now, let's say we have a little bit longer runway, meaning we don't have to sell all the scissors this month, but over the next year, we want to sell X number of scissors. And we think the way we do that is through quality and solid customer service. Now I might say, I want to build more of a brand or some awareness. And I think the analytics that I'd want to look at are maybe some sort of reputation score or customer feedback or, you know, again, I don't know, I'd have to think on, but I think it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish to then drive what analytics would help you get there the fastest. And I think the good news is that whatever platform you use or decide to use maybe first, they all have a ton of out-of-the-box functionality to get to a lot of those important metrics.
Yeah. And I will say also, Martin, just in answer to the first part of your question, I shared a couple of the online you know, courses that you can take or certifications that you can get from the big, you know, from the big players. And so, you know, don't reinvent the wheel, don't do something that somebody else is already doing, use what they have. And there's some great, you know, great tools out there based on what John mentioned in the workshop. So,
But is there any sort of pitfalls that come with cherry picking analytics, similar to if you were cherry picking stats? Are you going to maybe put
I
yourself
don't
into a
think so.
fallacy or an artificial view?
I mean, sure. Yeah, good question. I mean, sure, but I don't think so. I mean, I think you obviously you want to validate the data when you can and check some of the numbers that come through Google and Facebook. You know, we have KPI sheets we've built that we spin up, and I go check in the mornings and just make sure that the data is correlating or that the data looks to in fact be correct. Because you know, in my case, we are basing pretty large marketing ad budgets and revenue allocations related to the different platforms and performance. I'm trying to think. I mean, that was more data integrity, but you mean where could data get you in trouble by only listening to a certain vendor?
I'm just wondering if you're looking for a certain aspect or you're looking for data on a certain aspect, and maybe your field of view may get dangerously narrowed to where you're not actually getting a true assessment of the bigger picture.
Okay.
Is there a risk
yeah.
of that? And if there is, what way could you make sure you're not walking into that?
Yeah, I mean, I would think again, I go back to, I think it was Martin a second ago, you know, what are you trying to accomplish? And make that your mission, you know, make that your key focus. And this data is going to help you create evidence-based outcomes and help make data-driven decisions. But it's, again, these are data points. And so I think you want to take any of them with a grain of salt in that you have to constantly make sure that you're focused on your mission and not just adhering to one piece of the story, which might be one piece of data. Trying to think. I think just, you know, getting back to the North Star metric. So if you've got a North Star metric, meaning you've got some supreme mission, some supreme goal that you're tracking to, everything else, you know, torture the data enough and it'll tell you what you want to hear. And everything's a story. So I'd say it's slightly different, Cameron, in that like the concern for me would be don't get so heavily reliant upon one piece of data and not always make sure that you come back to center to your mission and your goals of the company or whatever you're trying to do. Just more as a be cautious, be wise type of idea.
Okay, so don't get wound up on the data as like a end result, more use it as a tool to kind of get you to where you want to go.
Yeah, I think it's a tool. I think it's a very powerful and very impactful tool. But again, it's a tool. I mean, I would argue even technology is a tool. So this stuff's all great, but ultimately it's, you know, it's all a tool to help us achieve our business outcomes, whatever they may be.
Okay.
So I was, I'm sorry, Ashley, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, I put we have the a link to the survey in the chat. Those of you who need to take off, we understand. We will see you again soon. Those of you who want to stick around, if we have, John, do we have maybe a couple minutes more though to answer a question from Ashley? And okay.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. So the rest of you, we'll see you soon. All right, thanks. Go ahead, Ashley.
So first, John, I wanted to say thank you for mentioning all those different tools that you mentioned. As somebody, so my role as a sales and operations manager, my job is to consistently, evaluate the different tools that are available, evaluate the different efficiency of those tools, and make sure that they're providing the important insight that they're supposed to be providing. My question is, I guess, maybe more geared towards ad spend. We all know it's very, very easy to go down a rabbit hole with Facebook and with ad spend where you're spending a significant amount of money and you're not necessarily getting the results that you want. When you first initially started your business, how did you maximize your ad spend and optimizing your data and you're utilizing social analytics to make sure that you're using your ad spend properly, even with a limited budget?
Yeah, so, and my is about 3 in a row, or because I'm currently still living it and I've been there, and it's certainly no easy task to tackle. So there's a couple different camps of thought on media buying, and I'm not a media buyer. I'm not great at it. In fact, I'm probably more lean towards not good at it myself. But I think that, back in my slides, you've basically got the important components of the ad are going to be the headline, the copy, the image, the video, and the thumbnail. And I think that spinning up a few ads, not too many, because you don't want to spread your budget too thin that you don't get enough meaningful, actionable data. So we'll do it like in groups of 3. And these aren't like best practices. This is just kind of a high level answer to give you kind of a path to go check out. But we'll usually spin up like 3 to 5 because we don't want to spread it too thin. And we'll experiment with different thumbnails, different images, different headlines, using emojis, using text, using what's the Lingo Jam, or there's a font changer. Lingo Jam, you can Google it, but there's a font changer that will go in and change the font to bold. And then again, emojis, non-emojis, a headline, different call to actions, action verbs, and we'll test across
Everything
3 to
needs to be
5.
tested. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that you can do that in the beginning without a huge budget.
Yep.
And you'll quickly see, and it's very non-intuitive, and maybe that's just me because I don't have a great design.
Not just you, it's me too.
I'm not a good media buyer, but the ones that I think are going to crush and just smash are the worst ones always. So don't get too wrapped up in the results, meaning like just let the data tell you and let the data speak, and then learn from it. And so we'll normally then cycle out. We'll take our best performers and we'll just cycle. We'll iterate. The next day we'll pull out the worst performers. We'll pop in the best, and we'll try a new headline. The cool thing with Facebook, and I have very much a love-hate with Facebook as the platform of choice for ads, but it's what we currently use, and we do have success on it. And our kind of my team and extended team has a ton of expertise, which is how I've backed into using Facebook. Is just the team that I work with is super advanced using Facebook. So here we are. But you can spin up the ads, or the creatives, we'll call them, dynamically in the same ad set as next to the headlines, next to the text, with different thumbnails. So I can do all this in the same ad set and then run it. So it's getting a like for like comparison, and then go view it in Facebook by dynamic creative element, and it'll tell me which text is performing the best, which video, which image, which thumbnail. And again, you can do that with a relatively low budget. Now, the downside would be if you have such a low, insignificant low budget, you won't get enough spend across the different variations to figure out which is best. And I don't have a solution for that other than try less and hope and pray. And I don't know that this is great advice either, but I'll just share it, full disclosure. For me, we used a credit card, and we had a business credit card, and that's how we basically funded the early days of our ad spend in the company. And I'll tell you that certainly adds some stress and adds a little bit of pressure, but it gave us the runway to allow us to test a little bit more, to try and find some revenue to generate some conversions.
So, and I'll say this too, you can even test with a zero budget. I mean, you should always be testing. You should test everything, but you could even do this with no money. And every time you're paying less money, it's more work, a lot more work. But don't be too discouraged about having not a lot. None of us are operating with a ton of cash when we're doing this. It's the nature of entrepreneurship. So yeah.
You bring up a good point. I just want to add one more thing. Ashley, you're right. Well, Tanya, you're right, but too, Ashley. There is a ton of free ways that you can still generate some, what we'll call ad momentum, through the ways that you coordinate some social posts with some blogging, with some email blasts, with some Google Forms. And I think that, to Tanya's point, that there is some ways that you can get creative. It does take a little more lift, but that you can generate some free eyeballs, which then generate some link clicks, which then generate some emails, which then generate, you begin to get them in the funnel and ask for referrals and do some giveaways and things where you can, again, momentum is slow, but you can build momentum.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for your insight. I really appreciate it, and definitely gonna take a look at those free resources that you sent in the chat, Tanya, and explore the recording afterwards, so I can, pick back up on what we've learned today.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we recorded it. I can't say that enough because I'll do the same. There was so much great information in there. So,
Good.
any other questions from the audience while we have John here?
I have a question for you, John. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. Really helpful.
Sure.
Other than what you just answered to Ashley, is there anything that you would recommend in terms of increasing conversion? What I mean by that is we've been running some ads and we get downloads. It's an app, right? We get downloads, but we don't get people to actually sign up and put their credit card and all of that. Do you know if there's any like settings that you could change to optimize for people that not only click the download, but also, go through with that? I don't know if that's too specific, but.
I'd have to think on it. There is some strategies. And again, I'm not the right media buyer, super media buyer expert, but I have seen some strategies, for instance. And so I'd encourage you probably just have to snoop around some of the Facebook. And I'll just stay with Facebook again, but any of the platforms when I say that interchangeably, but some of their Facebook for business stuff, maybe even, spin up an account and try and get some one-on-one time with their marketing experts and ask those types of questions, because I think you can build some audiences around that. Some other examples, I have a business partner, media buyer, who instead of optimizing for conversion as our objective of the campaign, he'll optimize for link clicks and run a much smaller budget, $5. I think he runs $5. And that way the link clicks, when optimizing for link clicks, it's much cheaper. And so that's going to, they're like 10 cents or 5 cents, or I don't remember off the top of my head, but very inexpensive to get those clicks. And now you've driven some traffic through a link click on the pretense or the forecast or the goal that you will have a conversion rate on your website. We shoot for about 2% on ours, and so we want a 2% conversion rate. So out of those link clicks, if you can get 100 link clicks for $2, I don't know what the math is, and you can get then 2% of those 200 to actually make a purchase, you've now spent $2 or whatever. Again, sorry, I don't know what my math just was, but point being, significantly less. Another strategy, similar but different, and again, this is kind of more like savvy media buyers, and I'm sure there's blogs and forums kind of really detailed in this. I'm not the expert, but I know enough to be maybe dangerous, probably even not. But anyways, let's see, what was he telling me? He wanted to optimize for email inputs. Gosh, he just told me this the other day. Hold on, let's see if I can remember how he was doing this. My business partner, Bob, he wanted to optimize for emails, collecting emails, which is step one of our sales funnel, going back to that click funnel. Sales step one is to opt in. So just add your email, name and email, and optimize for that goal completion. So not conversion, just an opt-in, because it's much cheaper. And you'd get a bunch of emails. So we now have a big email list, which it would then send many more data points, because we'd get a ton more conversions, I'll call them. What I mean is people that would reach that goal. We might have 100 instead of 2 sales. We'd have 100 people that would do that step. There's 100 data points, which is more data than we were giving back to Facebook with the 2 sales. The 2 sales, it's only given data around 2 people. 100 people opted in, and then using our conversion math of those 100 that opted in, we'd hope that X percent, I forget what his forecast was, 40% or something, would then continue on and make a purchase, and we'd acquire them again at a much cheaper CPA when you do the math across the sales funnel.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thank you very much. This I'll get some testing up and running and see the difference, but appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cool. Cheers.
Awesome. Yeah. So once again, thank you everybody for coming. I'm really, really appreciative, John, and we have to have you back. This was awesome. This was so awesome.
Happy to help. Glad to help.
And then let us know what we can do to reciprocate. Excuse me. I feel like I'm always asking things of you just because you're such a wealth of knowledge, but anything we can do to reciprocate, please do let us know.
I'll take you up on that.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks. We'll see you at the next workshop. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and stick around if anybody has any direct one-on-one questions. And thank you.